Okay, can anybody tell me who these people are right here? These names.
They are people that are most wanted.
Well, close. This is a list, a small list of registered sex offenders in my hometown. This is the small list of over 64 people who were mapped in my hometown. Now, this right here is two individuals who live less than a mile from my house. One was convicted of a sex crime with a 14-year-old female, and the other with a 6-year-old male. Now, I didn't know that these people almost my whole life live right around the corner from me. But thanks to the National Sex Offender Registry, I can now know who lives near me and basically know who's living next door, especially if you have children. So there's going to be three things I'm going to talk with you guys today. First is going to be what and who are sex offenders and some statistics about them. Next is going to be some laws that have been passed, such as Megan's Law, some of you may have heard of it, that make it mandatory for sex offenders to register with their local law enforcement. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the mission and importance of the National Sex Offender Registry. So, what is a sex offender? Well, a sex offender is a person who has been criminally charged and convicted of or has pled guilty to a sex crime. Who is a sex offender? Well, there's many myths that sexual assaults are committed by strangers to a person, when in all actuality, sexual assaults, most of the time, are committed by somebody known to the family, the victim, the victim's family, and so on and so forth, whether them being a child or an adult. So a sex offender can be anybody. Some statistics. There are 400,000 registered sex offenders in the U.S., and an estimated 80 to 100,000 of them are missing. They have not registered with local law enforcement. 2/3 of all prisoners convicted of rape or sexual assault had committed their crimes against a child. In 90% of the rapes of children less than 12 years old, the child knew the offender. The typical sexual predator will assault 117 times before being caught. The rearrest rate for convicted child molesters is 52%. Now that we know what and who sex offenders are, I want to talk a little bit how it came to be that they had to register. Now, for some of you who have children, you know, this is always a sad thing, but these three kids right here, something had to happen to them for laws to be passed, for sex offenders to be registered. Now, even though Megan's Law is the most important of all the laws and it's most famous, there were actually laws passed before Megan's Law. The first law that was passed was the Wetterling Act. That was for the disappearance of Jacob Wetterling. He went missing over 18 years ago and he still has not been found. Now, prior to 1994, few states required convicted sex offenders to register their addresses with local law enforcement. So Congress passed the Wetterling Act, named after Jacob Wetterling, who was kidnapped and to this day is still missing. This act was the first to institute a state sex offender registry. Now today, all 50 states and Washington, D.C. have sex offender registries. Well, registration wasn't enough because on July 29, 1994, the Kanka family of New Jersey had their lives shattered. Their 7-year-old daughter, Megan, was lured into her neighbor's home with the hopes of seeing a little puppy, and only 30 yards from her house, Megan Kanka was raped and murdered. The murderer had already served 6 years in prison for aggravated assault and attempted sexual assault on another child. So in 1996, Congress passed a federal law mandating state community notification programs. Megan's Law, which is now a section of the Wetterling Act, requires all states to conduct community notifications. Now, the most recent act passed is the Adam Walsh Child Protection and Safety Act. A lot of people may know John Walsh, his father, who is on America's Most Wanted. Adam Walsh was kidnapped from a Sears store a very long time ago, and he was found 12 days after murder. So the Adam Walsh Child Protection Safety Act was signed by President Bush on July 27, 2006. The legislation organizes sex offenders into 3 tiers and mandates that sex offenders in Tier 3 have to update their status every 3 months. Failure to register and update information is made a federal offense. It also creates a national sex offender registry and instructs each state and territory to apply identical criteria for posting offender data on the internet. The sad thing is something had to happen to these kids for something to be done. So now that we know the laws which were enacted to register sex offenders, I want to go over the mission and the importance of the National Sex Offender Registry. The National Sex Offender Registry, which is at familywatchdog.us, you can check it out, and I really recommend you do because you're probably shocked. You'll probably see people that you know on there from your hometown who are registered sex offenders. Many other websites, such as Family Watchdog, have been made so that, for the same purpose, they're designed so that people can know just who is moving next door. The system allows government authorities to keep track of the residence and activities of felony sex offenders, including those who have already completed their criminal sentence. There are also websites for each individual state. These websites are open to the public and send out updates, alerts, and allow people to know when and where sex offender will be living and working. The websites even have pictures of individuals, which is where I got these pictures from the actual sex offender registry, so that you can see and know who these people are. This allows the community to know who's moving next door. The website is continuously updated, especially if the sex offender moves. If offenders fail to register again, it's a federal offense. The websites also give out helpful hints to parents on ways to teach their children about stranger danger and what to do to help prevent them from becoming victims of sexual assault. So today I went over what and who sex offenders are and some statistics about them, laws which were passed to make sure sex offenders register with their local law enforcement, and finally the mission and importance of the National Sex Offender Registry. Now, I know I could sit here and talk to you all day about this, but it's really serious, guys. This is a really serious matter. And news reports, this was shocking when I heard it, news reports have cited a statistic of over 800,000 children disappear every year. That's roughly 2,000 children a month. Especially those of you who have children, because I know I have a 2-year-old. I don't want my child becoming a statistic. So it's really important that you research, you learn, and you act, because no child should be at risk. Thank you very much.